If you're over 60, does getting a good night's sleep feel, well, like a battle you just can't seem to win? What if I told you that you have the power to retrain your body for that deep, restorative rest you've been missing? And you can do it without pills or any expensive gadgets. In this explainer, we're going to walk through exactly how to do that.
So, does this picture look a little too familiar? The whole house is dark and silent, you can hear the clock ticking, and there you are, just staring at the ceiling. You're completely exhausted, but your brain just will not switch off.
And this quote, wow, it just captures that feeling perfectly, doesn't it? That awful disconnect where your body is practically begging for rest, but your mind is just running a marathon of worries and memories and all the things you have to do tomorrow. If you're nodding your head right now, I really want you to know you are not alone in this.
And here's the most important thing to hear. This is not your fault. It's not some kind of personal failing. A lot of people think that as we get older, we just need less sleep. That's a total myth. The real problem is that our internal sleep switch can get a little, well, rusty over time.
So let's talk about what's really going on inside your body. It all comes down to a natural but frustrating shift in your body's chemistry. See, back in our 40s, our bodies usually had plenty of melatonin, that's the sleep hormone, at night. And at the same time, our cortisol levels, that's the alert hormone, were nice and low. But as we get older, that balance can start to flip. You might produce less melatonin while your cortisol stays high, keeping you wired when you should be winding down. But here is the really good news. We can retrain this switch. We just need to learn how to speak the language of our own nervous system.
And here is exactly how we're going to do it. We are going to build your personal sleep toolkit. We've got 5 powerful, science-backed techniques. The natural tranquilizer, a way to melt away physical tension, a trick to tame your racing mind, a method to clear your mental RAM, and finally, how to sleep like a soldier. And stick around, because we've got one bonus golden rule at the end that makes all of these work even better. Okay, let's start with the most powerful tool you already own, your breath. Seriously, this technique is totally free, it's always with you, and believe it or not, it can work in under a minute. It's called the 4-7-8 method. Now here's why it works so well. When you can't sleep, your body is often stuck in fight or flight mode. The secret here is that by making your exhale way longer than your inhale, you physically flip a switch in your nervous system. You're sending a message that says, hey, we are safe, it's okay to relax. So you just inhale quietly through your nose for a count of 4, hold it for 7, and then exhale completely through your mouth with a little whoosh sound for a full 8 seconds. Do that just 4 times. By the 4th breath, you will actually feel your body start to slow down. It's like a natural tranquilizer.
Okay, next up is a technique for anyone who feels physically restless at night. You know that twitchy, can't get comfortable feeling? So often we hold tension in our muscles without even realizing it. This technique, progressive muscle relaxation, basically forces our body to let it all go.
The process is really simple. You just systematically tense up a muscle group for a few seconds and then completely release it. You work your way up your body, from your toes all the way to your face. And as you release each muscle, you'll start to notice this feeling of warmth and heaviness spreading through your body. Honestly, it's physically impossible to stay stressed when your muscles are this relaxed.
All right, let's tackle the biggest enemy of sleep, that racing mind. You know, you can't just tell your brain to stop thinking, right? That's like telling someone not to think of a purple hippo. The more you try, the more you think about it. So instead, we need to distract it with something, well, something boring and nonsensical.
This technique is called cognitive shuffling, and the whole idea is to just scramble your brain's logical thought patterns. You're basically creating the same kind of random, fragmented thoughts we have right before we drift off to sleep. You're tricking your brain into thinking it's already dreaming. Here's how it works. You just pick a simple, neutral word. Nothing exciting. Let's use bedtime. Then you go letter by letter, and you just visualize random, unconnected objects that start with that letter. So for B, you might picture a big brown bear, then maybe a bouncing red ball, then a small boat floating on a calm lake. The real key here is to actually see the images in your mind, not just think the words. Once you run out of B images, you move on to E. Maybe you see an elephant with big floppy ears, then a fried egg sizzling in a pan. What happens is, the logical part of your brain, the part that worries and plans, it just can't keep up with this random imagery. I'm willing to bet you won't even finish the word bedtime before you start to drift off.
Now, our next technique is all about prevention. Think of your brain like a computer. If you have way too many tabs open at the end of the day, your brain stays worrying all night, trying not to lose any of them. So we need to close those tabs before we get into bed. We do this with something called a worry dump.
So, about a half an hour before bed, grab a notebook. On one side, you just write down whatever is worrying you. But, and this is the crucial part, on the other side, you write down the very next concrete step you can take. Not the whole solution, just the next little step. This simple action tells your brain, hey, it's handled, we have a plan. You're literally transferring that burden from your mind onto the paper.
And finally, the big one. This is the military method. It was actually developed to help pilots fall asleep in under 2 minutes, even in incredibly stressful situations. And hey, if it works for them, it can absolutely work for you.
So this method combines deep muscle relaxation with some intense mental focus. You always start with your face. Unclench your jaw, relax your tongue, let the muscles around your eyes go soft. A slack, relaxed face sends a powerful signal to the rest of your body that it's time to stand down. Then you let your shoulders drop, and just let your whole body go limp, from your chest all the way down to your feet.
Now, here's the most important part. You have to clear your mind for just 10 seconds. And you do that by holding one of these 2 static images in your head. Imagine you're lying in a canoe on a perfectly calm lake, just staring up at a blue sky. Or, if you prefer, imagine you're curled up in a black velvet hammock in a pitch-black room. If a thought pops in, and it will, you just repeat the words, don't think, don't think, don't think, over and over. It's like a mental block that just walls off those intrusive thoughts.
Before we finish up, I have one bonus tip for you. And this one is like a force multiplier for everything we've just talked about. And it all has to do with temperature.
See, in order to fall asleep, your core body temperature actually needs to drop by a couple of degrees. If your room is too warm, your body struggles to make that drop happen. The ideal temperature for sleep is actually a pretty cool 65 to 67 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 20 degrees Celsius. Now I know that might sound a little chilly, but here's the magic combination. A cool room, warm blankets, and believe it or not, socks. Here's the crazy science behind it. When your feet are warm, the blood vessels open up, which actually helps your body release its internal heat. This cools your core down faster, sending a powerful signal to your brain that it's time for sleep.
Wow, we've covered a lot. But listen, you don't have to master all of this tonight. Just pick one tool from your new kit, give one of them a try, and please, be patient with yourself. Your body absolutely wants to sleep. We're just helping it remember how. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I truly wish you a night of deep, peaceful rest.